Hello guys and welcome back to the Traitors New Zealand, and today we are talking about season 2 episode 11. We are almost at the finale of this season and my goodness, is it getting dramatic and tense. We're down to only 6 people after someone got brutally murdered last night. So I am very excited to talk about this episode in all of its details. So if you guys are enjoying the series, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. We're jumping straight in right now. So let us get going. Breakfast was a massively awkward ordeal. We've got people left who get along with each other, some people who don't necessarily get along with each other, and it is a little bit uncomfortable at times, especially when you have people like Joe and Noel walking in and they just kind of sit there and they're like, haha, yeah, let's just make awkward conversation and just be like, haha. Yeah, this isn't awkward at all, because Joe is particularly pissed off with Noel because he told Noel that he believes that it's Donna and Kat, and Noel went and told Donna and Kat this, which caused a whole explosion a couple of episodes ago. Like, it is what it is. We're past that, but equally, it is still a little bit of a sticking point for Joe. Joe strikes me as the kind of person that holds grudges, so you know what? Fair game. And then you have Jason coming in, and Jason's like, right, let's play an old game of knifey spoony, okay? And I'm like, what's going on here? It's actually forky spoony, but whatever. No, it's knifey spoony. That's the Simpsons joke, but he was using forks and spoons. And he was like, okay, let's say these 4 forks are the original trails, or these 3 forks, or whatever. And then they started playing like, we got rid of this person, they recruited. This person, they recruited. And he managed to rationalize that there were 2 traitors left, and everyone is sitting there like, wow, that's so amazing. And then you just see Cialy and Bailey being like, fuck, how are we going to get out of this one? How are we going to manage to explain the fact that, yeah, actually there are 2 left, and I don't know how to say this, but it's going to be a tough sell. It's going to be a tough sell. So the last person that comes through that door is Donna, meaning, sadly, Kat has been murdered. I genuinely didn't expect me to be so pissed off and upset that Kat was murdered, but it makes sense. They are trying to go down the whole, oh, she was coming after Cialy, so it must be Cialy. And then Cialy would be like, well, why would I do that if I was a traitor? That seems like a very obvious move. Therefore, it can't be me. They're going down that kind of route. But in my opinion, that is exactly why you do it. Because of that exact reason that you just said. You would take out the person who is gunning after you, the person who is aiming to end your game, do you know what I mean? Purely because your game would be ended otherwise. Like, it just makes sense. It's like the most obvious move is rationalized as like the least obvious move, but it is just the obvious move, and that's what he did. He took out Kat, and it was fairly obvious that he would, because it makes sense. No? So, some suspicions are flying around, and I have to say, it is getting tense. There's 6 people left, and everybody is just having to look at everybody else, because they're just like, I don't really know what I'm doing here, and we kind of have to find some traitors at this point. So, Joe and Jason, they're trying to make sense of the madness. They're bringing up, could it potentially be Cialy? Then you have Noel and Donna discussing, could it be potential that we're both gunning after one another, but we're both actually being used as bait, and we're distracted from who is actually the traitor. And then Bailey is starting to use Donna's own technique against her. Donna's technique of, why am I still here? It's because you're dumb, darling. I love you to pieces, Donna. You're a lovely woman. But you weren't very smart in this game. You did gun after Noel for like a good few years. Let's just put it that way. So anyway, I was really impressed by Bailey being like, oh, why am I still here, guys? Why am I still here? Because I was like, yeah, it makes her seem like a faithful, and it also puts then some blame onto Donna and Jason, who are also innocent people, but Equally, people can be easily swayed. So the mission today was a fairly simple one. It was just two truths and a lie. And I've been watching a lot of Would I Lie to You recently, so I feel like I would have been quite good at this challenge. I have to say, they're given statements that they've not necessarily seen before. Two of them are true, one of them is false, and they just have to read them out. And I have to say some interesting things. Apparently, Noel can say the word esophagus. They tried to say that he couldn't. And it really pissed me off because he had the chance to really fuck up the word esophagus and sell it, but equally then they wouldn't have gotten the money. So I don't know. I don't know what the strategy for this game was. Like, yeah, you want the extra like advantage for your team, but you also want the money, right? So you want to give them the points. I don't know. I feel like it was a bit of a weird challenge in that respect. Jason apparently wasn't dead for a minute, and Bailey didn't photobomb Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom. Joel has not walked the runway at Fashion Week, and Donna doesn't have a budgie called Tweety Bird, according to my notes, and Cialy hasn't lost a kidney. So there was some really interesting lies in there that they were trying to sell. I think Donna's one of like, I have a racehorse that has 25 wins. I was like, yeah, right. Yeah, okay. And then she was like, yeah, Thunderbird has won 25 times. I was like, what? I don't think it was called Thunderbird, but you know what I mean. I was like, what? Excuse me? Where did you get that from? Oh, the budgie called Tweety Bird is something I can exactly see you having. But alas, it is what it is. So you might be thinking, okay, Cialy, Joe, and Jason, their team won it. What did they win for that? Well, one of them, Jason, won a secret power, which I have to say, when I was like, secret power, I had flashbacks to the seer, and I was like, oh, I don't know whether I'm on board with this. I don't know whether I'm happy for them to be introducing the seer on this show. But it was actually double votes. Now, at this point in the game, again, little bit game breaky. It does kind of unfairly balance the scales. I think that this is a good twist for slightly earlier on in the series. Maybe not like first 6 episodes, but definitely episode 7 or 8 maybe 9 at a push. But I think past episode 10, when you start getting down to you literally need 4 votes to go home, one person having 2 votes is a little bit ridiculous. So I feel like this was definitely a good twist and I liked it, but I don't feel like it was used correctly here. So just before we head into the round table, a couple of interesting things were mentioned. Now, my handwriting has gotten very messy at this point in my notes. I was on a plane and it was taking off whilst I was writing this. So I have no clue what some of this stuff says, so I'm going to try and decode it for you. But the first thing says, Bailey mentioning Donna to Jason using the Why Am I Still Here card. This is what I talked about earlier. She's starting to plant seeds of doubt in other people's minds, potentially about Donna. I know that there was a plan between Bailey and Cialy that they were going to target separate people. Cialy was going to target Noel, and Bailey was going to target Donna and use the whole, oh, could the person who is my best friend be the one keeping me in the game card? Because Donna used that last time, but I think Bailey can use it more convincingly, and I think that was the argument. Then we have Cialy saying, I can't remember who he said it to, I think it was Jason and maybe Joe, that if they're wrong about Noel, he'll look at Donna and Bailey as potential traitors. And I was like, interesting, because he's now bringing up Bailey's name. And I was like, you need to play carefully, Cialy, because as much as Bailey is good, you are not better than her, okay? You're not better at this game than her. You could have gone home like 2-3 episodes ago. Bailey has not had that kind of heat on her yet. So, yeah. And we're going into like the final 6. If you remember correctly, in Traitors US Season 3, this is where Danielle almost won the game. This is where Danielle almost won the game. And then Bailey decided to flip her vote. I still stand by that if Bailey hadn't have flipped her vote and she'd have stuck to Ivan. No, was it Ivan or was it... I can't remember. Whoever they were voting out against Danielle, if she had stuck to that, those two would have had a majority with Dolores. They would have got rid of... what's her face? The Bachelorette woman. and then they would have got rid of Zac Efron's brother, and then they would have decided to end the game, and then it would have been over. And I stand by that. I stand by the fact that Britney fucked that game up for everybody, and that's why we had the happy Kumbaya ending. Sick of Kumbaya endings. The Traitors deserve to win this game. I'm sorry, they do. Unless you're an amazing faithful like Gabby was. Gabby wasn't that amazing. Neither was Dylan. Ivan was actually a very good faithful, objectively. I'm so off topic at this point, but you get what I mean. So the round table starts and it immediately gets quite tense in there. You can almost feel them suck the air out of the room. So they're just left in a vacuum of just, but I don't even know, just animosity. It's crazy. Jason starts, he's like, I want to find traitors and I need help. And then he was like, I wanted to talk to Kit, but someone was lying and she's innocent. So we know she's innocent. It was the worst New Zealand accent in the world, but you get my point. I wanted to talk to Kat. Yeah, I think a lot of people wanted to talk to Kat. They wanted to discuss this whole vendetta against Ciale. But now she's dead. So who does that lay the blame at the door of? Ciale, obviously. Somebody was lying in those pair about that conversation that was happening. And it wasn't Kat. Because Kat's innocent. Why would she lie about that? That's such a random thing to lie about. It makes sense. But then you have somebody like Ciale who is like, oh, I just genuinely don't remember, guys. And like, to be fair, I have now found out that he genuinely doesn't remember that conversation because it wasn't happening in the context that Kat was saying it was happening in. And because at that point, Ciale wasn't a traitor and he was having it as just like a jokey conversation. But now he has actually become a traitor. He doesn't remember having that conversation because it wasn't in that context. Does that make sense? So anyway, I'm just going to move that to the side and we're going to roll on. So Noel then pipes up and says, yo, you used to be one of the lead detectives, Ciale. You used to be one of the lead traitor hunters. When, like, Utah was here, you guys were busting crime left, right, and centre. You were doing bits to get traitors out. And now you're not. What's that all about? What's that all about? That's very interesting, Ciale. It's very interesting. Then, this is where Joe just comes in. And as much as I've enjoyed watching Joe is a horrendous Traitors player because he is like he's the Sarah of this series. You know Sarah in Australia too? He is the Sarah of this series. I'm not going to say that Donna is the Sarah because Donna, bless her, she just got a little bit stuck on one person. Joe, however, is just causing chaos for the sake of causing chaos because he's going after Noel and he's going like, you spilled my thoughts to Kat and Donna. You have no loyalty whatsoever. And what? Noel has no loyalty and all Joe has is his name. Oh, as in like Joe has his name as the only idea and direction that he's going to go in. You see how I was very like tired at this point. I think it had gone midnight and I had like an 8-hour journey ahead of me. I was tired, guys. I was exhausted. The notes do not make much sense. So stay tuned for the finale one because that was even later in the night, so we'll see how those notes go. I speak with conviction. Oh yeah, this was actually the best line that Noah said all series, and it would have convinced me not to vote for him. He's like, I'm not a traitor because I speak with conviction. There are no stutters, and that's because I'm not bluffing. When you bluff, you can have a tendency to stutter. You can have a tendency to trip over your words because you're making it up. You're bluffing. But I'm not. I'm speaking my truth. And therefore, I ain't skipping a word. You're hearing every single word. Okay? Whether you like it or not. And I was just like, oh. And then, Donna. This is what I mean by like, Donna's so sweet and lovely. So she can't be the Sarah. But she is just a little bit thick. She's a little bit thick. I think she's the Lewis. Was it Lewis on that series? Whoever the mustachioed guy was. That kind of looks like Laserbeam. Him. He was alright. Was he? No, he was a little bit of a Sam fanboy. Okay, maybe there weren't enough people on that series to compare Donna to. But anyway, it is what it is. Donna basically says to Noel, I'll know everybody else's roles if you go. And Noel just turned to her and went, no, you won't. You just won't. You won't. I'm sorry, you won't. And Was he right? He absolutely was right. He didn't. She didn't know. She didn't know. Oh God. And then this was a stupid line of questioning. They decided to turn it on to Donna, and then Donna was asked, like, why were you crying this morning over Cat? And I just thought this whole line of questioning was dumb as fuck. Like, it was bad. It was boring. I was like, what are we doing here? And then Bailey was like, oh yeah, I've been wondering, have you been keeping me here? Ooh, I don't know. And I was just sat there like, really? Is this where we're going with this conversation? Really? This is what we're doing right now. We're gonna try and turn it on Donna, because like Donna is the only person in this room that I'm like 100% convinced is faithful. If I was in this room, because you can only go after someone for so long before I'm like, yeah, you're just faithful and you're just not getting a grasp of this game. Do you know what I mean? So voting time rolled around, and I was hoping Ciali would get at least a vote, but he did not. Noel voted for Donna. Bailey voted for Donna, and I was a bit like, Bailey, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Come on, this is a risky move. Ciali voted for Noel. Joe voted for Noel. Donna voted for Noel. And then Jason, with his double vote, voted for Noel. And I was like, oh, this poor geezer. He made it to 6th place. He survived all of those round tables. Probably has one of the highest amount of votes per person in a game of Traitors that has ever been. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just making an assumption. But either way, he had a lot of votes over the course of this series. Every time he was 2nd, 3rd, he at least had 1 vote per round. Do you know what I mean? Maybe not all rounds, but most of them. And then he gets up there and he's like, guys, I'm actually an actor, you know. I'm actually an actor. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know this about you. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. I'm unsure. But it is what it is. And then he's like, but unfortunately, I wasn't acting in this game. I was a traitor. No, a faithful. Shit. Sorry, my bad, guys. My bad. I was a faithful. I was a faithful. I actually do want one day for somebody to stand up there and be like, guys, I'm a traitor. Is what I would be saying if I was actually a traitor, but I'm a faithful. Bye, guys. I'd let them have their little celebration. They'll be like, guys, I'm joking. I'm a faithful. I'm a faithful, guys. I'm joking. Bye. And I just leave them on that, and they'll be like, wait, what? I'm really confused now. I just want to confuse them even more. You got me out of the game. I'm going to confuse you even more. Soz. Gonna send you around in circles. So that is pretty much it for this episode. There was no turret, unfortunately, purely because we're at top 5 now. There are no murders left. So fair and valid. I'm sad to see that Noel left. I'm sad to see that Kat went. That I was more surprised at. I didn't think I would be upset that Kat would leave, but I think she had a strong showing ever since that one episode in which she had a go at Mark. I feel like that was a negative part of her game, but you know what, she got over that. She moved forward, and actually she had some really good intel. The fact that she picked out Ciali instantly as a recruited traitor or whatever, as much as her logic was flawed, she was 100% correct, and you have to give her credit where credit's due. But that is all we've got time for today, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. I will be back next week with my thoughts on the finale, and I have to say, thank you guys for not spoiling it, because it was an absolute delight and a treat to watch, completely unspoiled. Like I said earlier on in the series, I thought I got a spoiler that Ben won, but then when Ben left last episode, I was like, okay, this is exciting now, because I don't know who's making it to the end now. So that was super exciting. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We have got Celebrity Traitors coming very, very soon. And we've also got Traitors Island as well. I don't know if that is being broadcast in the UK. If it is, I will cover it. If it is not, I probably won't. Okay, I probably won't until they release it in the UK. But either way, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later. Bye now. See ya.